All right, today we're cracking open the user's guide to one of the most sophisticated and honestly powerful systems in the human body. And we're not just doing a simple anatomy lesson here. We're going to explore a dynamic hormonal engine that runs on a super precise cyclical rhythm. So yeah, let's dive into the mechanics of this incredible biological machine.
We usually think about the female reproductive system for one main reason, right? Reproduction. But what if its influence is way, way bigger than that? What if its intricate monthly cycle of hormones actually creates ripple effects that you can feel throughout your entire body?
That's the really wild connection we're digging into today. The idea that this internal clock, this monthly rise and fall of hormones, might actually be tuning the dial on something as fundamental as how we perceive pain. Now, it might sound a little out there, but this is a very active area of scientific research.
And hey, this isn't just some theory we're throwing around. As these researchers from the British Journal of Anesthesia put it, there's a ton of evidence suggesting that sex hormones are major players in how sensitive we are to pain. This is the solid scientific groundwork for the whole connection we're about to explore.
Okay, so to really get this complex hormonal story, we got to start with the basics. We need to get familiar with the physical stage where all this action happens. So let's meet the main anatomical players.
So here's our cast of characters. You've got the ovaries, which are these powerful little glands making eggs and hormones. Then you have the fallopian tubes, think of them as the pathways. And of course the uterus, where a potential pregnancy would develop. Now these are the core structures, but here's the kicker. The real director of this whole show isn't even in the room, it's in the brain.
That's right. These organs are basically just following orders that come from a high-level command center located, maybe surprisingly, up in the brain. This is where the whole incredible process gets started and regulated.
This entire system is run by a top-down chain of command. It all kicks off in the brain, which sends a little trigger signal to the pituitary gland. The pituitary then acts like the system's dispatcher, sending out two key messenger hormones. You can kind of think of them as a get-ready signal and a go signal. These signals then travel down to the ovaries and tell them exactly what to do and when to do it.
But, and this is super important, it is not a one-way street. The whole system is regulated by this really elegant feedback loop. It's kind of like a thermostat for your house. When the ovaries produce their own hormones, like estrogen, those hormones travel all the way back to the brain and tell it, hey, you can cool it with the signals, or hey, we need more. If estrogen is high, the brain slows down. If it's low, the brain ramps up. This constant chatter is what keeps the entire system in perfect balance.
And that feedback loop is what drives the whole 28-day rhythm of the menstrual cycle. It's this beautifully choreographed dance of hormones that prepares the body for a potential pregnancy each and every month.
The cycle basically plays out in three main acts. First up is the follicular phase. You can think of this as the buildup. Then comes the ovulatory phase. That's the main event. And finally, the luteal phase, which gets the body ready for whatever might happen next.
So in the first half of the cycle, that get-ready signal from the brain causes follicles in the ovary to start growing. As they do, they produce more and more estrogen. That's that rising pink line you see. This, in turn, tells the uterus to start preparing for a potential pregnancy.
Then bam! Right around day 14, that peak in estrogen triggers a massive surge of the go signal from the brain. That's the big yellow spike right there. This is the moment of ovulation, when an egg is finally released from its follicle.
Okay, so in the second half, the cycle totally shifts gears. Now the dominant hormone is progesterone. That's the rising purple line. Its whole job is to make the uterus a really welcoming and cozy environment for a fertilized egg. If a pregnancy doesn't happen, hormone levels take a nosedive and the entire cycle just resets to start all over again.
And check this out. This is a pretty incredible fact about this process. At birth, the ovaries are holding around 1 million eggs. But get this, over an entire lifetime, only about 400 to 500 of them will ever actually be ovulated. That means a staggering 99.9% of them will never be used and are just reabsorbed by the body. It really shows you the incredible amount of biological work that goes into selecting just one perfect candidate each month.
Okay, so we've got this dynamic hormonal engine just running constantly in the background. Now, let's bring it all back to our original and pretty surprising question. What on earth does any of this have to do with pain?
Well, to make that connection, we can think of the cycle as two totally distinct hormonal environments. That first half, the follicular phase, it's pretty much an estrogen-dominant world. But the second half, the luteal phase, is a world dominated by progesterone, with estrogen still hanging around. So two very different hormonal states.
And this is where it all connects. Research shows that pain sensitivity isn't a static thing. It can actually change across the menstrual cycle. And specifically, some studies suggest that the luteal phase, the progesterone-dominant second half, is associated with increased sensitivity to pain. That hormonal shift seems to be directly linked to a real shift in our physical experience.
So what's the bigger story here? When we zoom out and look at everything, a few crucial takeaways really come into focus about what this system truly is and what it's capable of. Ultimately, this system is so much more than just anatomy. It's a powerful hormonal engine, controlled by that constant back and forth between the brain and the ovaries. And its influence isn't just contained. Those monthly hormonal rhythms create ripple effects that can shape an experience as fundamental as pain.
This link to pain is just a powerful reminder that our internal biology is constantly shaping our experience in ways we're only just beginning to understand. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden connections are still out there, just waiting to be discovered?